Alright, so I'm back on this ERV. Um, got some parts to replace. So let me just give you um, a quick rundown on the parts we got. Alright, so I'm hoping you can see that. Just look right between that little crease there. And you'll see that little shiny area in the middle. That's where I had to grind down a piece of the dust plate and also grind out a fine clearance space for the stud to pass the hub, because based on how this is made, I cannot get that stud out without removing, or put the stud in without removing the bearing, which more than likely would have damaged the bearing. So I just had to grind it down just enough so that the stud was able to pass. I also had to grind a piece of the stud. That's where I had to do some grinding. If you look there, you'll see right there, right? Got it in, new ball joint as well, and new outer tie rod. All right, so this is the right hand side, right hand outer tie rod. And this time around I didn't pull the axle nut. I used a special mechanism that I created to get the ball joint off. Basically what I did, I put a piece of metal that fits exactly over this in terms of round, with the flat, the other side of it is flat, and then I turn this screw in the anti-clockwise direction until it meets the metal, and then I keep turning until this pushes the ball joint out. Apologies for not showing, I was hurrying a bit. Okay, so I have completed the replacement of the ball joint and the outer tie rod. I've also done the same to the left, and of course we eventually got to change the stud, as I said earlier. All right, so now I am just replacing the valve cover gasket. So the valve cover is off. I removed the ignition coil connection rail and then fuel injector wiring, and then we removed the 8 bolts that holds the valve cover on. So let us take a look now on what we have here. It's a bit messy, but you know, things set. All right, so this is the old one. It actually broke. I was wiping the oil off. That's how crystallized it is. It literally just, see that? Listen, see that? That's garbage, trash, rubbish. All right, so here is the new one. This is how it's supposed to be. See? All right, so we're going to install this, fit it all back together, and then we're going to do the oil change. All right, so I'm underneath the vehicle, right? This is the bung for the engine oil. It is it's a 24 millimeter. All right, so here we go. Yep. All right. There we go. All right. That doesn't really look bad at all, does it? But it was sitting for a while, so we're definitely changing that. Yes, so that is it. Out with the old, in with the new. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna oil this, put some of the new oil on this gasket right here, and then I'm gonna pre-fill this with some of the oil. Let that soak away for a little bit. And while that's happening, let me remove this. There it is. So we're gonna pop the new one in. So here's the new one. It's There it is. All right, brand new Honda genuine air filter. Let me get that locked. Excellent. Back to the oil filter. Well, I think it's generally just about at that point that I'm okay. So I'm gonna try to get this inside now. That is where it's going. And I think I got it. Yes, I got it. And so you know, see that? Yeah. I usually hand tight for the most part. So let's go to pouring the oil. Oh, almost forgot. I'm not using a torque wrench, so I'm basically just tightening it just enough. It looked like it got damaged before and they actually welded this piece onto it, so let's see how it goes after starting and warming. All right, you know, I never want to be worrying too much about spill, and most of the time I'm good. All right, so that is one. Also, nothing is wrong with setting up your good old shop cloth. My trusty lipstick. All right, so it's gonna be hard to test here because it's on an incline, so I'm definitely not going to pour anymore. All right, I'll test it afterwards. There we go. That's it, guys, for the basic service and changing of some front end suspension parts. Like, share, comment if you have a comment. There's a lot that we did, so I'm sure that there's a lot that could be said about how something is done, whether good, bad, or indifferent, or just suggestions for different ways. All right, subscribe. I'll bumbleclad fix it regardless of what it takes. Yep, Dragon Stone.